focus your attention back to Satilla Shores.
Okay.
Was there ever a time that you yourself tried to figure out if any particular person was involved in some of the crime that had been happening over that summer in 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that circumstance?
Yeah, so around, I believe it was July, 1st of July, my neighbor at the time, Kim Ballesteros, she had her purse stolen, or told us that her purse stolen out of her vehicle. And so we neighbors talked about it. Yeah, this is something else has happened. A few days later, a week or so later, I was coming back from a fishing trip. I have a boat doing charters on the side, and I was actually coming back to my house with some clients on Fancy Bluff Creek. Do you have a?
I do have a map here.
Yeah, so
I have this up already. Fancy Bluff Creek.
Yep, under the bridge, the Highway 17 bridge. Yep, we got under there.
I'm just going to pull this back too. The state has a similar exhibit that they've used. This being the Google Earth image.
Okay. So yes, I was coming from the north and coming back down towards Fancy Bluff to.
You were where?
Where your finger is?
On the water.
On the water,
Okay.
in my boat, yes.
Okay.
And got under the bridge and saw a bunch of trash, tarps, and there was an old tackle box down there, and just a bunch of trash under the bridge. So this looks like a homeless camp, and it's very close to the neighborhood. There's a trail that goes to it actually. Drove on by and started thinking that the neighbor just had purse stolen. So let me check this out. This might be this homeless person, or if there is homeless people in there, these might be the ones going into the neighborhood. So got home, finished with the client.
So let me stop you there. When you say you got home, we don't see it on this map here, but does this connect coming up around over onto this side?
It does, yes. Fancy Bluff Creek joins Little Satilla south of the neighborhood.
Okay. So you boated around back to your dock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So got back, finished with the clients, and told my father that, hey, looks like there's a homeless camp under the bridge. You know, this purse was just stolen. I want to go see if there's anybody down there. I said, I'll join you. So we get in my truck. I carry a weapon everywhere. I got a concealed weapon, so I was armed. I'm not sure if my dad was or not. There was a trail. First, we tried on the neighborhood side of the road.
All right. So that being this side over here.
It probably, if you look at the
Was there any
satellite
access point to drive over here?
There's a power line that parallels the highway between the neighborhood and the highway. It's an overgrown road, or it's an overgrown field.
Okay.
We couldn't get to it from there. These rocks and stuff is just too bad. So I drove across Highway 17 onto Fancy Bluff Road.
Okay.
And then there's a little four-wheeler trail.
So Satilla Drive comes across 17.
It does.
Is that Fancy Bluff up here?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I believe it is.
All right.
And then there's a wooded lot right directly across, and there's a four-wheeler trail that parallels the highway there.
Okay. What did you do?
So me and Dad walked down the four-wheeler trail. He's behind me, and it goes down, kind of meanders around a couple of trees, and it gets to the creek, makes a right, and it goes under the bridge. So I turn, go down the bridge. I don't see anybody, and then get under the northbound lane and see someone fishing right at the bank. And he had a machete, I guess, a real long knife. It wasn't a fillet knife, it was like a machete right next to him. He doesn't see me. I walk on, but get between him and the knife, and then...
All right, let me stop you there. As you're doing this, you're going down there with your sidearm. How is it that you feel comfortable going down there to inspect this situation?
I didn't see any threat. There was no threat. Yeah, I didn't see anybody down there, and if I did, then I would talk to him. You know, just
right.
talk to him.
So what happened?
So I get to him. I get between him and his knife.
Why did you do that?
For safety.
Okay.
Just for safety. And they talked to him. I said, "How you doing?" And he's a friendly guy. And I asked him if he's living down the bridge. He told us that he wasn't. He told us that he was living on a road off of Fancy Bluff Road in the neighborhood. I don't remember what the road was. And I told him, I said, straight up, there's a bunch of stuff being stolen in this neighborhood. I'm seeing if there's anything down here. He said, no, I haven't seen anything. Okay. We looked around. I think my dad looked at some of the tarps. He said it wasn't his stuff. I'm certain that he was living under that bridge. We didn't see anything. We
When
left.
you said you didn't see anything, what were you looking for?
I was just looking for if there was any purses or if there was any equipment, anything that obviously would, if you see boat motors or tackle boxes or, anything, purses, anything that's just,
Okay.
it would be odd. I wouldn't pick it up and take it. What we did as soon as we left, my dad called the non-emergency number and informed the police. They were aware, obviously, of what's been going on in the neighborhood and told them, hey, there's a homeless person on this bridge. Check it out for us.
All right, I'm going to stop you there. And just to be sure we're on the same page.
Good Brunswick Communications Operator 94, how may I assist you?
Hey, this is McMichael. I'm the retired chief executive of the DA's office. Is there anybody, supervisor available I might be able to speak to?
Sure, just a moment. And are you talking the dispatch supervisor or police supervisor?
Police supervisor, yeah. Anybody on duty be fine.
Okay.
I wanted to make them aware.
Okay, and all right, and what was your name?
Greg McMichael.
Okay, and a contact number for you?
912-217-1726. They can call me back if
Okay, and your address, sir?
230 Satilla Drive. We've had a lot of break-ins in this area out here, automobile break-ins. And my son and I just discovered a guy. We think he may be living under the Bluff Creek Bridge on 17.
This is the call.
Yes.
Okay. Did you discuss this finding of sorts? This person that you thought living under the bridge, did you discuss it with anybody else in the neighborhood?
I did.
Who did you discuss with, if you can remember?
I know Randy Parr, my direct neighbor. I'm sure I've spoken to Matt Albenzi when he'd stopped by. And then there's another guy down the road, older fella. I cannot remember his name.
Okay. All right. Do you know whether or not the subject of someone living under the Fancy Bluff Bridge being a suspect of things happening in the neighborhood, whether that subject came up anymore over the course of the next 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, there's people, it was always there, it was always in the back of people's mind, or if something happened, you would see it on the Facebook neighborhood page of the homeless person. There's been a homeless person around. That was from that moment forward, people knew that there was a homeless person under that bridge. So.
Okay. All right, now I want to ask you about 220 Satilla Drive.
Okay.
All right. Did you ever hear anything about thefts or things being stolen from 220?
I did.
When did you hear that?
The first was from my mother.
Okay.
And then she heard it from someone or saw it on Facebook and told it to me. And then I started seeing it on the Facebook page.
Okay. Did you speak to anybody other than your mother?
At first, no.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Diego Perez about it?
No, not until February 11th.
Okay, all right.
Or
But in
January
terms
1st.
of what was it that you understood was stolen from 220?
From my mother, and I heard that there was equipment stolen off a boat.
Located where?
In the house, in 220 Stilla Drive.
Okay. Do you know if you ever spoke to Matt Albenzi about it?
We've talked about it, but we just talked about it. Like I said, it wasn't, in great detail. You say, hey, there's been stuff stolen out of that house, out of that boat. So, yeah,
Did you know of the man who lived or who was building 220 Satilla?
I met him once, but I didn't know.
Did you know anything about him, about whether he was living on the property or
I knew that he stayed on the property on weekends and stuff like that. When I first met him, he had a camper in the backyard, and from my understanding was he was working on the house himself, and he'd spend weekends or sometimes a week there, and he would stay at that house or at that camper. He wasn't living in the house that he was building at the time. He was living right behind it, or staying right behind it when he was on property.
Okay, so just sort of generally speaking, you had learned that boat equipment was stolen and that the owner was living on a camper on the property on weekends.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you ever investigate anything about 220 Satilla in 2019?
No.
Okay, go in there, search the residence, do any kind of follow-up on stolen goods or anything like that?
No.
Did you ever speak to Larry English in 2019 about his stolen property?
I did not.
Okay. Or ask him if you could help him catch whoever had stolen his property?
No.
Okay. In 2020, were you the victim of crime?
I was.
All right. When was that?
January 1st.
Okay, what happened?
I had a pistol stolen out of my truck.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a Smith & Wesson M&P 9C.
Okay.
Smaller.
All right. And that was when?
January 1st, New Year's.
Okay. Do you know the circumstances of how it was stolen?
Yes, I was. My dad moved the vehicle for me. Moved the vehicle that morning between 9 to 11, 9:30, 11:30, somewhere around there. He moved it close to the side of the road to the adjacent property, right on the road. I came out about 11:45 to go somewhere. Opened the truck. The door was unlocked. I don't know if he left the vehicle unlocked or if I left it unlocked that evening, and saw that my holster was sitting in the seat. Went back in and asked my dad if he moved my gun, being that he was in that driver's seat where the holster was. He said he did not. So I looked around the house, made sure that I didn't misplace the pistol for some unknown reason, and came to the conclusion that my pistol was stolen and called and made a report on it.
Okay, you said you called. Who'd you call?
I called the Glenn County Police Department, non-emergency.
Okay.
It may have been, I called the police department.
I'm going to play States Exhibit 161.
Glenn Brothers Communications, operator 915.
Hey, yes, I need a police officer. I got a report of I made a report of stolen stuff.
You what, sir?
I need a police officer. I need to report a stolen pistol.
Okay, and what's the address it was stolen from?
230 Satilla Drive.
That's 230 Satilla Drive, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the call?
Yes.
Okay, no other pistol stolen from you. That's the only one.
That's the only one.
Okay. Were you concerned at all about the theft of your gun?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Well, one, I don't know who has the weapon. Having it stolen out of my truck, I don't know who's got it. I don't know if they know anything, what they're doing with the gun. They might harm themselves or use it to harm someone else or use it for a crime or who knows.
Did you hear of other reports of guns being stolen in the neighborhood?
Yes.
Do you know essentially what it was that you were hearing?
Oh, I've heard of several vehicles being broken into and pistols or guns stolen out of those vehicles. Don't know the addresses, but it was common talk around the neighborhood.
Okay. At this time, we're moving into January of 2020. Now, no longer the fall of 2019. We haven't really discussed whether or not the crime in the neighborhood was continuing or on the rise. Can you give us a little bit of your understanding of what the level of crime was around this time and across October, November, December?
Yeah, so it was steady. I guess would be the best way to explain it. It was steady. The house on 220 around October was when it was apparent, when you were hearing that Mr. English had stuff stolen out of his boat out of there, expensive stuff, and he put a surveillance system up, and they were catching people going into the house.
How did you learn about the surveillance system?
Once again, from my parents and
So
hearing from it on Facebook.
Okay, parents and Facebook.
Yep.
All right.
And neighbors. Mr. Albenzi told me, he said that they had somebody in there. He saw him on the camera, but that's as far as I went with that.
At this point in January of 2020, we've got crime in the neighborhood, okay? We've got suspicion in the neighborhood. At this point, had that at all begun to narrow into a particular person?
It was starting to, yes. Having the point the 220s constantly being broken into, then they have videos of people. Now starting to think, all right, there may be some body or pair of people that are constant, that is the one that's continuing to come into this neighborhood.
All right.
Instead of random acts of burglary.
Okay. Did you have any experience yourself with 220 Satilla?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us when that was?
It was on February 11th,
Okay.
around 7:30 in the evening.
All right. Tell us what you were doing on February 11th around 7:30 in the evening.
All right. Just finished eating dinner. Decided to go fill up my work car.
Which is?
That was a little Volkswagen Jetta, 04, 05, somewhere around there. Instead of having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to fill it up, I just fill it up in the evening, come back, and be done with it. Left the house, turned on Satilla Drive, and started heading out of the neighborhood.
All right, stop there. Do you see where your house is approximately on this map? Is this in y'all's way? It's not. It might be for one of you. Let me move this forward. Just a touch. Can you lean forward and see it?
Yeah.
Your house is
So, yes,
one of
it.
these.
That's it.
Here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You were here.
Yep.
Where did you go?
I came out, turned on Satilla, take a left.
Okay.
Yep. And then made it to about where the S is on Satilla Drive.
Okay. All right. What did you said you made it to about there, and then what?
So as I'm driving down the neighborhood, I see someone run across the street.
All right. From what side to what side?
Came from the.
So here you are, down here. You're saying you're coming up Satilla.
Yeah,
You
right
make
there.
it to about the S.
Mhm.
And what do you see?
I see someone run from the right side to the left side.
This side?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, I'll tell you where.
Yep, go ahead.
Go up to the next house. Between those two houses, right there.
Right here?
Yep, and ran directly across the street,
Okay.
and then into the yard that was there.
How far back into the yard?
I didn't see them until I went further up, so they went out of sight.
Okay, you
Once
come
I got-
further up.
Once I got to Jones, the house, yep, Senator Jones,
Okay.
the house went up from 220.
Okay,
That one
here?
there, yes.
This house here? Is this 220 here?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So that house there that you put the X on,
Yes.
at the furthest corner away, which
Here?
was where the driveway was, I saw that individual that ran across the road was was right there at their bushes, running across their driveway.
When you say bushes, do you mean bushes down here by the road?
No, close to the house.
Okay, bushes close to the house.
It's a Spanish-style house, so they have like a terrace or a open veranda in front.
In front,
And
little
there's
courtyard?
Yeah, courtyard. So
And where did you see this person go when they crossed the street?
I lost sight of him until I saw him right at the driveway of that house.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously that was the path that he'd taken.
And how far back off the road was this person, would you estimate?
He was close to the house, so probably 20, 30 feet.
All right, so this distance being 20 to 30 feet off the road.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did you see anything else?
Yeah, so I don't have my lights on him. I don't have my lights on him at the time.
Yeah.
But as I'm coming out, I've come to a stop at this point, and he is staying in the shadows, obviously trying to avoid being detected. Detected. He's, lack of better terms, lurking. He was creeping. Wasn't in a run. It was just creeping through the shadows. You know, if there's a shadow running through here, he'd run with it and then go to it, and he was staying close to the house.
Okay.
I said, what's going on here? So I stopped. I was right at Jones Till, and I backed my vehicle up to him, turning onto that house.
You said you backed your vehicle up to him. What do you mean?
I'm sorry. I was putting the back side of my vehicle up Jones, and as I was doing, I was swinging my lights.
Okay.
On him when he was in front of that house at that time.
Is this kind of accurately depicting what we're talking about?
Yes.
This being your car?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then I'm swinging it as he's coming to 220.
He's moving this way?
Yep.
Okay.
So there was a tree between 220 and that house, and it was real close to the corner of that house. He went between that, stayed in the shadows there, and then I stopped, and it was obvious that he was aware that I've caught him, have put the lights on him.
Okay.
So he comes out of the shadows, gets into a wall, just kind of stands up, and then run like a jog almost into the shadow that the portalet was making.
Where's the porta potty?
Portalet was on the corner of 220.
Okay.
Between and just again, obviously, he's aware that I am aware that he's there, had lights on him. I get out of the vehicle, it's a standard car, so I put it in parking brake on, step out of the vehicle and was going to ask him what he's
Sorry,
doing.
what do you mean by standard car?
It's a stick shift.
Okay,
Stick
go ahead.
shift. I get out of the vehicle, he's trotting to me
All right, stop. Why are you getting out of the vehicle?
to see what he's doing, to ask him what he's doing, maybe run him off.
Okay.
I haven't seen him before.
Okay.
at all.
Did he wave at you?
No, he didn't.
Did he try to talk to you?
No, he didn't.
Like,
That's
I
what I
lost
was
my
thinking.
dog or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so what happened? You step out?
I step out to ask him, to see what's going on, to get an idea what's happening. As he comes out of the shadows from behind that portalet, he comes directly to me. I'm out of the door, and he comes out and he pulls up his shirt and goes to reach in his pocket or waistband area, going for his pocket. I thought it was pocket at first, but later on it didn't make sense, because if you're going to reach for your pocket, you would go for the pocket that's on whichever side you're on.
Okay.
He reaches like this.
So what happened at that moment?
It freaked me out. So once I realized what's going on, that he is doing this, and I'm under assumption that he's armed, I jump back in the vehicle. He turns around and runs into the house.
Okay.
Into the 220, the house at 220.
All right. So from the porta potty,
Mm-hmm.
coming forward, then he goes into the house.
Yeah, he stopped. Once I jump back into my vehicle, he just turns and goes into the house.
All right.
It's not it wasn't like a full sprint. It was, he's gone, let me continue what I'm doing.
Okay. What did you do at that moment?
Well, it startled me. It freaked me out. So I don't know if I had my phone in the vehicle or not. It wasn't there. I didn't have a gun on me. He's gone. I'm just getting the hell out of there. I just wanted to leave, make sure, because I don't know where he's at this point. I go to jump in the car to take off to the house. I forget the parking brake's on. I stall the vehicle out, crank the car back up, and get to turn and go back to my home.
Okay. What did you do once you got to your home?
So once I got home, I believe my dad was in the garage, or the garage door was open.
Okay.
Or may have been in the kitchen. I told him what just happened, and I had two phones, had my regular phone and my work phone, and best I could remember what I was doing was going to grab a phone. Well, I told Dad, I said, hey, there's somebody, I just caught somebody lurking at the neighbor house and just went into 220. So he comes out and I'm assuming his arm and goes down the road.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. When did you call the police?
I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are you when your dad starts to walk down the street?
I was at my vehicle. I was at the driveway.
Okay. Did you say anything to your dad?
Yeah, I told him to wait. I said,
Why?
hold on a second. I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming this guy's armed. And Dad, he had a stroke a couple months earlier, 2-3 months earlier, and which everything's fine, but you're concerned about him. If somebody,
Does he have any other health issues?
Yeah, he's got a busted hip, or he's actually had a total hip replacement, and he's had a couple heart attacks. And
Okay. So you say, Dad, wait.
yeah, wait, and he's walking on down the road. He's going on down the road.
All right, what do you do?
So I go in, grab the keys to my truck, and grab one of my guns, which was at the safe, which was in the garage right there. Get out, get down to the road where Dad is. I'm calling 911 at the time. By the time the operator picks up, I pull up to 220. And at that time, my father and I wasn't aware who it was at the time. Another neighbor Dad was interacting with. I didn't know who it was. It ended up being Diego Perez.
All right, I'm going to pause you there.
Okay.
And let me pull up. Exhibit 163.
What's the address of your emergency?
It's Attila Drive, 230 Attila Drive.
What's going on?
We've had a string of burglaries. I was leaving the neighborhood, and I just caught a guy running into a house being built 2 houses down from me.
Travis, do you hear the way you sound?
Yes.
What are we hearing?
I was still scared. I was breathing heavy. I was still alarmed, I guess, would be the best way to explain.
When I turned around, he took off running into the house.
Okay. What did he look like?
It's a black male, red shirt, white shorts.
And you said the house was being built?
It's being built, yes ma'am. It's vacant right now. He is in the house.
Why did you tell the 911 operator that you had a string of burglaries happening in the neighborhood?
Well, that was apparent. And then I guess going into it that him going into that house, that then knowing that that house has been the one that's been breaking in and everything's been stolen, or stuff's been stolen in there, that there's a connection to this. And I think that's why.
What did you think he might be doing in the house that night?
I think he was going back and stealing, breaking in, burglarizing.
What's your name and phone number, sir?
Travis McMichael, 912-423-1374.
All right. Where are you at now?
And that's you breathing?
That was me breathing, yes.
Right across the street in my truck, watching the house. Watching the house with it right now. Right here at the
Okay.
So you say you're sitting in your truck and you're watching the house. What does that mean?
So, like I said, my dad was on down there by the time I got my phone and called 911. It was just a second to get there. You heard me whistle right there. I saw the police coming, and I was trying to get attention to my father, and it turned out to be Diego, to say, hey, the police are right here. I don't want anything to happen, then think that they're the ones breaking in.
All right, stop. Did you go in the house?
I did not.
Why not?
Because I didn't know, I lost sight of the individual that just went in there, and he acted like he may have been armed. I'm not going to follow him in there. I'm not going to chase or investigate somebody that may be armed, and I don't have any reason to go into that house.
Well, what about your dad and this other fellow that's out there?
I don't know why they're armed, but I don't know why that they decided to do that.
Were you concerned?
I was.
About what?
About them going in there and running across someone that intends to do harm or would try to harm them.
All right, so you're outside the house, sitting there on the phone, lights on the house.
Yes.
Okay.
What kind of truck are you in?
A red Ford F-150.
Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah. One night it just startled me. When I turned around and saw him and backed up, he reached into his pocket and ran into the house. So I don't know if he's armed or not, but he looked like he was acting like he was. So, be mindful of that.
Okay. Which pocket did he reach into?
Left, I believe.
All right, so be mindful of that. Again, may be obvious, but what is it that you're trying to communicate?
That the person that I just had this interaction with, possibility is armed and is obviously willing to use it if that was the case.
Well, why are you telling the 911 call center operator to be mindful of that?
So the police that show up on scene would come in knowing what they're possibly walking into.
Okay. And now, so 230 is the vacant lot address?
It's my address.
It's your address?
It's probably
Okay.
8 or 226.
Maybe 226?
Possibly.
And how many houses down is it from yours?
It's 2 towards the highway.
Okay, continue.
I guess he doesn't realize we're here. He's got the damn lights on right now. He's got a flashlight going through the house.
And does he? Okay.
All right, so you're now surmising that the person that you saw go in the house has a flashlight now.
Yes.
All right. Did you come to understand that was not what you thought?
It wasn't. No, it was our neighbor Diego.
Okay.
It was.
All right. Did they ever see or talk to or catch the person that had entered the house that night?
No, they did not.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. On that night, did you meet with the police ultimately?
Yes, I stayed where we were, and then when they arrived on scene, I stayed with them.
All right. Do you remember the name of the officer you met with?
One was Officer Rash.
Okay. And who else was out there? I think you said your dad.
Yes, my dad was out there. The neighbor Diego
was out there.
Diego.
All right. Did anybody else show up that night?
That I spoke to, you see in the video, obviously, Ronnie Olson came out there. I think I spoke to him, but then I spoke to Matt Albenzi.
All right. But were you aware that Ronnie was there?
Yes.
Okay. And you said Matt Albenzi. Anybody else that you were aware was there? And I mean that night, not after watching the video, the body cam video.
I spoke to another neighbor, Brandon Gregory, right after it happened when I was leaving.
All right. And who is Brandon Gregory?
He's a neighbor. I think he lives on Zellwood. He's also at the time, I'm not sure if he is or not anymore, but a police officer. Works with Clinton County Police Officer.
With what?
Clinton County Police Department.
Oh, okay.
And he just was coming home. He wasn't involved with it.
Okay. All right. You said that you talked to Officer Rash?
Yes.
All right. Did Officer Rash show you anything?
Yes, after everything was done, he showed me the video of what occurred, just what I witnessed and called 911 on.
The video of what?
Of the individual going into the house.
So from running from the portalette into the house.
Yes.
He's now showing you the video of this person inside the house.
Inside the house, yep.
Okay. And did you watch the video?
I did.
Was there anything about the video that made you feel anything whatsoever?
Yeah, so having that experience, what I just said, that, with him or acting like he was drawing the weapon and then running into the house, and then seeing the video that he's walking around so nonchalant in that house, kind of, it startled me a little bit that having that just happen, just catching him creeping through that front yard and obviously trying to avoid detection, and then doing what he did there, and then going into the house, and then walking around in there like it's no big deal was alarming.
Alarming why?
Because I wouldn't think anyone acting normal would do that, and somebody that's willing to act like they have a gun or act like that they will harm you to prevent you from asking them or doing anything there, and then go in and just acting all normal and nonchalant and never catching the guy, knowing what he's doing, it just sets off the alarms for me.
Okay.
It's just bold. It's just very.
You said bold.
Yeah, it's just the way that he's acting is just very. It's a bold move.
Did you learn about, you had mentioned already that you were aware of some boat equipment being stolen back in October or from the house. Did you learn or did you see any of the other videos of 220 that night?
I think I saw some stills, I believe.
Some stills of what?
It was the first time I saw it was one of, I believe it was Mr. Arbery on the dock.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other ones?
Can't recall which ones were others. I think they did show another one of him walking around in the evening time.
Okay.
But I was told for the first time that it was the same guy that has been in that house several times.
Okay. Again, the question I asked you about January 1st, now moving to February 11th. In your mind, the idea of crime happening in the neighborhood, things being stolen, had you at all funneled that even further into trying to determine who may be responsible for some of the crime in the neighborhood?
At that point, yes, it did.
Or who was responsible for stealing the boat equipment from 220?
Yes.
All right. Did you draw any conclusions about who that might be?
I did.
All right. Who did you think it was?
I was thinking it was the person I just had an encounter with that evening on February 11th.
Okay. And what is it that you think he was doing in 220?
I thought that he was breaking back in and was going to steal some more stuff.
After that night, did you talk with anybody else in the neighborhood just about crime?
A couple of days later, I'm sure that I know that me and Matt Albenzi talked about that evening. If you heard anything like that, and I spoke to Diego Perez also. Same kind of conversation. Just if you heard any more about it, anything like that.
Okay. Okay. I want to move into February 23rd.
Short recess then. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a 15-minute recess, and we'll bring you back for a continuation of the evidence.
So that's for jury, please.
All right. Let's take 15 minutes. You can go ahead and